When I was a boy, I, like many children do I suppose, had an incredible fear of the dark. After being tucked in at night, I would beg and plead for my mom and dad to not shut out the lights, and they always agreed. That is, until the start of my 2nd grade year. My parents decided I was a big boy, and I needed to learn that the dark was nothing to be afraid of. To help with this transition, my dad bought me a very bright nightlight for my bedside table. I hated the idea of just having the nightlight on at first, but after my mom shut off the room light switch and showed me how bright the nightlight was, I warmed up to it. That first night, with only that little light by my bedside, is a memory that I can recall with certain clarity after all these years. For that night marked the first of many visits from the knocking girl. The glow of that little light was comforting, like a beacon of safety in the dark. It made me feel safe, and, before I knew it, I had fallen asleep under its protective glow. 3 distinct knocks woke me from my slumber sometime later that night. My eyes flew open, and my head turned to look at my bedroom door, which was left slightly ajar. The only thing there that intruded was the light shining in from the lamp in the hallway. But then, once again, came 3 sharp knocks from somewhere beyond the foot of my bed. I shot up in a sitting position and stared past the foot of my bed at my closet door. Thanks to my adolescent mind, I wasn't sure exactly what to do. I just sat there, staring at the dark wood of that door, only partially illuminated by the light at my bedside. Then, once again, so abruptly it made me jump, came 3 knocks. Only this time, they were louder, and the time between each separate knock was greater. My breathing became heavy, and my heart pounded, and just as I was about to call out for my parents, I was cut off. A soft, but somehow warped little girl's voice called out from behind that closet door. "Let me come out, Joshua. I'm so lonely." I screamed. I screamed louder and harder than I ever had at that time, or ever since. Both of my parents burst into my room and asked me what was wrong, but I couldn't answer. I just kept screaming. It took some time, but eventually, my parents calmed me down, and I was able to tell them what happened. They told me it was just a nightmare, but I wasn't having any of that. I told them I was never sleeping in my room ever again. My father, being the progressive problem solver that he was, however, fetched a screwdriver from his toolbox and began taking the closet door off of its hinges. Once the door was off, my parents stayed with me until I fell asleep. The knocking girl never returned to my room after that night, but she never left me alone either. I found out the very next day a couple of rules about the knocking girl. The first one was that it didn't have to be dark for her to visit me. The second rule is that it doesn't have to be a closet. The following day that I was visited by my knocking nightmare, I was sitting in a bathroom stall at school. It was just after gym period, and the physical exercise had helped me move along that morning's breakfast to my lower intestine, and I was pretty thankful when I found the bathroom empty. I was just finishing my business when I heard the echoing footsteps of someone entering the bathroom. I froze in my seat. It was clear, from the slapping sound on the floor, that whomever the new arrival was, they were barefoot. I waited as the footsteps drew nearer to the stall I was in, which was located at the very end of the aisle and up against the wall. I decided to call out then. "Hello?" I asked, but received no reply, only the slap, slap, slap of feet on linoleum. Somehow, the silence was more frightening than if anything at all would have answered me. I didn't call out anymore after that, but out of instinct, I picked my feet up slowly off of the floor and scooted as far back on the toilet as I could, placing my feet on the rim of the bowl. Slap, slap, slap. The footsteps were nearly at my stall now, and I closed my eyes tightly as the sound of steps continued. Slap, slap, slap. Whoever was out there was now directly in front of my stall. I kept my eyes closed and hoped the intruder would just leave. Then, a familiar sound resounded throughout the bathroom and stopped my breath in my throat. 3 hard knocks pounded against the door to my stall, followed by that same warped voice.
"Joshua, there's nothing to be afraid of. I only want to make you my friend."
Tears began to freely fall from my closed eyes, and I shouted, "Go away!"
"Joshua,"
the voice replied.
"don't be like that. If you don't let me in, I'll have to come in there after you."
The threat made me open my eyes, and what I saw under that stall door made me scream until I sent myself into a panic attack and blacked out. Under the stall, I could see 2 bare white feet, but that's not what caused me to lose consciousness. A face stared at me from under that stall. The face of a girl with a pair of wide, glaring blue eyes and a mouth that had its bottom jaw removed so that her tongue hung down and swung loosely from her open maw. Her neck was unnaturally long and twisted underneath that stall door just enough so that her head was partially in the stall with me. Those blue eyes are all that I remember